need a bigger boat.
50 years ago, Jaws created the blockbuster. Today, Cooper Flagg gave the Dallas Mavericks a whole new script. From Amity Island to American Airlines Center, get ready for a season even Spielberg couldn't direct. We're going to need a bigger runtime. Here we are. This is episode 10.
We have hit the decade mark.
We have hit the decade. That's pretty crazy that we've made it this far.
For all you doubters out there, get some, because we are still alive and thriving.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're better than ever, actually. We're still,
continue to
our numbers are just climbing, baby.
Absolutely. We continue to improve. We continue to find more things to talk about. Our listeners have helped with that. We had a few comments from the last episode of what maybe to talk about in some future episodes, and we've taken those to heart and we've written them down, and we might have to do one of those at some point. But like you said, this is episode 10. We've added some new things to our episodes. We have a new segment that we're going to kind of start off with each episode called Where We Went Wrong, the 4 W's. And last episode, we talked about what makes a star, specifically sports and Hollywood. And we were talking about NFL. We both said Patrick Mahomes was kind of the main star of the NFL. We mentioned Travis Kelce because of all the Swifts, and then Aaron Rodgers was kind of thrown around as well. But I was wrong when I said, and this changed not too long ago. There used to be 16 games in an NFL season, and that changed a few years ago. Now there are 17 games with a bye week included. I said there were 18 games last episode. So I'm an idiot, and I have figured out my flaws, and I apologize for that, and I'll try to do better in future episodes.
Yeah, you got to step it up, Yeah. At least you're keeping yourself in check. That's good. That's what matters. Yeah. Accountability.
I hold myself accountable. Absolutely. I'm a grown man.
Yeah. That's the whole point of this segment. Speaking of, I also have a little thing of where I went wrong last episode. I made the bold claim that Mr. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was the only remaining Hollywood movie star. That I think that was a hot take. And you know what? I missed one other person. This person technically isn't a movie star because he's not in front of the camera. He's behind the camera, and that person is Christopher Nolan. I think when a new Christopher Nolan movie comes out, it's an event. It's a big event. He can take a movie that's half black and white drama about J. Robert Oppenheimer and make it as big of a blockbuster as Barbie, which is just insane. So, Christopher Nolan at this point is just as big as any movie star in front of the camera. And so that's where I went wrong. I have to put Christopher Nolan as basically a movie star these days.
Yeah. A few movies, for those of you that don't know, Christopher Nolan's a director. And he has directed some movies that you've probably heard of. Like you said, Oppenheimer is one of them. Dunkirk is another one. Interstellar, Matthew McConaughey. The Dark Knight series, basically. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, trilogy. He also did Tenet, which is pretty new, and Inception. Those are probably the most well-known ones for Christopher Nolan. So if you've heard of any of those movies, that what Brooks just said is range true, because he's kind of the head honcho of all those movies. So I think Christopher Nolan's a better claim than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as a movie star.
About the same level.
Yeah. Christopher Nolan and The Rock. Those are,
Quality might vary between those
yeah,
guys, but stardom level. That's what we're talking about here.
that's true. Yeah, the quality definitely varies, but stardom is probably about the same.
That's right. Although
Speaking of stars, go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna
You're
say
still
I'm
up.
still excited for that new Dwayne the Rock Johnson movie we were talking about last week. That did you watch the trailer?
I did watch the trailer. He does not
Okay.
look like The Rock. He has hair, and so that confused
He
me
has
for a little bit.
hair. His face
But
is just a little different. He got a lot of
yeah,
makeup on. It looks like, and
yeah,
yeah, it looks like a serious drama. Like I said,
yeah,
if Dwayne gets nominated for an Oscar, that's gonna be a crazy world.
yeah. You
Just
you called it here first. You heard it here first on the Yada Yada podcast that Dwayne The Rock Johnson is going to win an award for acting in a movie. So
smashing machine.
yeah, Smashing Machine. That really helps your claim. Um, so speaking of stars, tonight was the NBA draft. Tonight is the NBA draft. It's probably no, I think it's over at this point. But after about 7:05, I turned it off. It started at 7, and at about 7:05, I changed the channel
Yep.
because the Dallas Mavericks have drafted Cooper Flag, the Duke freshman, All-American, Player of the Year, whatever you want to call him. The main event. He's from Maine, so his nickname is the main event.
That's
So
great.
happy,
I haven't heard that one. That's a good one.
yeah, yeah. So
That's
happy
cool.
Flag Day to all you MFFLs out there, recovering, new, still loyal MFFLs out there. Happy Flag Day. It's a bright day in our fandom of being a Dallas Mavericks fan, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited. It's been a while since I've been excited about the Dallas Mavericks. You know, they played a clip while the Mavs were on the clock um, during their first pick, and lots of clips of Luka, specifically last year. They kind of hinted, or they not hinted, but they recapped their season last year and how they made it to the finals, and then this year they recapped the trade. It's kind of like a highlight video, but I'm not kidding you when I say it made me sick to my stomach. Like it actually still makes me sick. And that's kind of sad because it's just a sports team, but I guess that goes to show how big of a Mavs fan I am. But I do want to say I am excited about Cooper Flag. Even though he's a Duke Blue Devil, he's one of the few white boys from Duke that I've actually enjoyed watching in my time as a basketball fan. Most white boys from Duke are little crybabies that trip people and throw temper tantrums. So Cooper Flag is not that, or he's not that yet. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But he's
For all
only
you Duke
18.
fans in the chat, feel free to just roast us. We
Yeah,
need all the comments we can get.
yeah, uh, yeah. For those, most of you listening probably know I'm a North Carolina Tar Heel fan. So Duke is not at the top of my list of college basketball teams that I want to cheer for. But I am going to cheer for Cooper Flag because I do think he will be a special player. I don't know how long it's going to take. He's only 18 years old. He was 17 last year when he led Duke to the Final Four and was about 30 seconds away from going to the national championship before kind of a meltdown um, against Houston. But I am excited about him. And I'm not as excited as I probably should be with the Mavs getting the number one pick. And I don't like that. I don't like that I'm not as excited as I should be because I don't want Cooper Flag to feel like he can't replace Luka. I don't want there's this episode of Parks and Rec where Tom divorces his wife because it's a green card marriage and they get divorced, and well, it turns out Tom actually likes his wife, his ex-wife. But he goes and gets another girlfriend, and he only talks about his ex-wife to that girlfriend. And so the girlfriend's kind of like, dude, you only talk about your ex. Like, once you get over her, come and see me, and maybe we can try it out again. So I don't want Luka to be that ex. I don't want Luka to be the one that we can't stop talking about. I want to enjoy Cooper Flag. I want to enjoy Kyrie. Kyrie just signed a 3-year extension with the Mavs, so he's going to be around for a few more years at least. And I want to enjoy that. I want to enjoy Anthony Davis as well. The Mavs, when they're healthy, are the threat in the West, the best threat, in my opinion, in the West to the Thunder. And I'm going to talk about the Thunder here in a little bit and how amazing they are. As painful as it is for me to say it, but when they're healthy, I don't know who's going to beat them other than the team that just won the championship. So I am pretty excited. I'm not going to buy a flag. I don't think I'll ever buy another player's jersey ever again.
Just burned on that, huh?
Yep, I'll only buy team apparel. That doesn't mean I'm not going to support the player, but every Mavs shirt except the one that I'm wearing is Luka. It's Luka based or Dirk based. And so I can't wear like half of or 90% of my Mavs apparel because it says Luka or it says Doncic or it has a 77 or something like that. So I'm going to stick with just Mavs gear for now. Flag wins a championship. Kyrie wins a championship. AD maybe wins a championship. I might buy some jerseys then. But until then, I don't see myself purchasing any player apparel. So
now for all the non like, can you explain this for people that aren't as deep in the trenches with the Dallas Mavericks as you are? Can you explain like the significance of getting Cooper Flag? Does that make sense?
Cooper Flag is one of, I believe, 3. I could be wrong there. I might be mentioning myself again on the next episode, but I believe he's one of maybe 3 freshmen that have ever won the Player of the Year award. Kevin Durant is one, I believe, that won it, and I also think his new teammate Anthony Davis won it. And so if you can put your new player in the conversation with 2 of the all-time greats, that's good. Cooper Flag is that good right now. He was as a college athlete. He was the best player in college last year as a 17-year-old. And so that's pretty significant. So getting the number 1 pick is it's like you get a fresh start. God gave the Dallas Mavericks, or maybe Adam Silver gave the Dallas Mavericks, a second chance. You trade away your face of your franchise. You trade away possibly the face of the NBA, and the person you trade him for gets hurt after that. The basketball gods have given the Dallas Mavericks a second chance. They've given them the best young prospect there is out there. No other player is better than Cooper Flag right now. That's not already in the NBA. Now, obviously, there's players in the NBA that are much better than him. But Cooper Flag, if you were to want to start over, if you were to want to get a fresh start, Cooper Flag is the person you want to start your team with. So getting Cooper Flag and already having Kyrie, Anthony Davis, an established PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, a Hall of Fame coach in Jason Kidd, probably. Well, that's debatable, but a great coach in Jason Kidd. Him being able to step into the Dallas Mavericks in the position that they're in is a blessing. And so hopefully it pans out. Hopefully he's not a bust. Like I said, he's 18 years old. So it might take, like, you think 10 years from now, he's going to be in his prime. 28 years old, that's usually NBA players' primes. That could be the start of his prime.
Crazy.
Or he could be 5 years into his prime. Luka's only 26, I think. And he's been in his prime he's been an all-NBA player for the past, 5 years or something like that. So,
yep. And how cool is it also that Cooper Flag gets to come onto a team and immediately compete for a championship?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's another blessing from the gods. That's another blessing that it's kind of Tim Duncan-esque. Tim Duncan kind of walked into the Spurs and had David Robinson with him, and they won championships immediately. It's kind of Magic Johnson-esque, Lakers-esque. He walks in his rookie year and wins a championship. Will the Mavs win the championship? No idea. I hope they do. But on paper, they're probably the second best team in the NBA. So if we're going off of paper, I'll take it at least.
Not too bad.
Yeah, it helps. It helps a little bit. Other stuff going on around the NBA. Here's my. I say all that, but I still absolutely despise the NBA. I talk about the NBA more than any other league. I probably watch the NBA more than any other league, and I absolutely hate the NBA. And here's another reason to add to the list. If you're like, why in the world do you hate the NBA? Go back and listen to episode 3, I believe it was, when we talked about when the Mavs got the number 1 pick and how it was possibly rigged. We kind of went into depth about that in episode 3. But another reason I despise the NBA, I think Adam Silver, who is like the president, GM, not owner, but CEO of the NBA right now, he
Commish,
is
is that his
the
official
commissioner.
title?
Yes, that's what I was looking
Okay.
for.
Yeah.
The commish, yeah. He is way too interested in TV ratings and what other people think about the NBA. Now, technically that is his job. But I don't think the quality of basketball on the floor is as good as it could be, and I think it's Adam Silver's fault. For example, okay, let me just go back 4 days ago. 4 days ago, we had the first Game 7 of the NBA Finals since 2016. That's 9 years ago. Okay, so it's been a while. And in that Game 7, if you have a pretty good NBA memory like I do, 2016 NBA Finals, that's LeBron and that's the Warriors. And that's the chase down block. That's the 73-9 team that was up 3-1. LeBron came back and Kyrie and company. But they came back and beat the 73-9 Warriors after being down 3-1. That was the last time the NBA's had a Game 7. So you would think that this Game 7 this year is a pretty dadgum big deal because it doesn't happen very often.
Right.
I think Adam Silver thought the opposite. I think he thinks other people think this is not a big deal. Nobody's going to watch this Game 7. Nobody cares about the NBA, and we got to do something about it. We got to get people talking about the NBA one way or another, and it's not going to happen from on-court activities. Because that was his plan the entire year. The only reason the NBA stayed afloat this year was because of the off-court antics, specifically the Luka Anthony Davis trade. The ratings were down. The media coverage was down. There's not really a rivalry right now. There's not a LeBron versus the Warriors rivalry. There's not a Larry versus Magic rivalry. There's no dominant team. Like there's no everybody's trying to beat this one team type thing going on right now. They've had 7 different champions in 7 different years. I believe in the past 7 years. So Adam Silver's trying to think of new things to do to get people talking about the NBA. And unfortunately, his ideas are off the court, specifically the Luka trade. And then Sunday morning, Game 7 of the NBA Finals is that night. And what happens? Kevin Durant gets traded to the Houston Rockets. I think that was in the back of my mind, conspiracy theory. I think that was not planned, but that was held on to until that day. I think Adam Silver gave the go-ahead. Yep, go ahead and announce it the day of Game 7 of the NBA Finals because there's not enough people talking about the NBA right now. So if we get one of our elite stars of the NBA, if we get people talking about him and how he's been traded, that'll get people talking about the NBA. That'll get people excited about Game 7. That'll get more people watching. And I think that was kind of his plan in the back of his mind, kind of the entire time. And here's why it's the NBA that's stupid. No other league would that happen. If the Super Bowl is going on, you think Aaron Rodgers getting traded is going to happen that day? You think Dak Prescott getting traded is going to happen that day? No. Roger Goodell, the commissioner, is not going to let that happen because the Super Bowl is the mother of all games for the NFL, the World Series. We're not going to announce that Mike Trout has been traded Game 7 of the World Series. because the series is bigger than what goes on off the field.
Right.
But I believe Adam Silver gave the go ahead for them to talk about, or for them to actually pull the trigger and trade him, because he didn't want people talking about the ratings of the NBA this year or the ratings of the NBA for the finals in general. But guess what? I'm going to talk about them anyway, because that's not what Adam Silver wants. So I'm going to just shove it in his face. So here's some numbers for the NBA ratings. Okay. Of all like I said, the last game 7 was in 2016. Cavs versus Warriors, LeBron and Kyrie versus the 73-9 Golden State Warriors, yada, 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 right? That game 7, the 2016 game 7, had 31 million people tune in. Okay, on average. That was an average number. So obviously more than
31 million. Okay.
31 million. Okay. Thunder Pacers on Sunday, 16 million. So half of what it was 9 years ago. Now,
wow,
that goes into play. I understand it goes into play with, it was LeBron and it was the 73-9 Warriors and it was big market, lots of media and stuff like that. I get that. But half, I don't know about that. That's not very good. The average viewership for the NBA Finals this year was 10 million people. So Game 7 was the most watched finals game, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But the average viewership for the finals this year was 10 million. That's the lowest since 2007. So
wow,
18
since
years.
2007.
Yes, 18 years, and I think that's minus, not including like COVID years. Like maybe the year after COVID or maybe the year of COVID, it might have been lower. But that's COVID. So, 10 million viewers on average for the NBA Finals. That's the lowest since 2007. And that was also LeBron James in his early years playing against the dynasty of the San Antonio Spurs. And nobody watched that series because it was a complete butt whooping, basically. The Spurs just kind of took over, rightfully so, because they were much better than the Cavaliers that year. Now, there's lots of reasons for this. They were small market teams, the Thunder and the Pacers. Here's the thing. I don't care about NBA ratings. I couldn't care less if 2 people watch the NBA, as long as I get to watch it. But Adam Silver clearly does, and he's worried sick about it. The smaller market team hurts. Oklahoma City, Indianapolis, Pacers, Thunder, kind of 2 new teams, not really a star on the team. That hurt. No LeBron, no Steph. There was no superstar in this finals. Once again, I do not care. I couldn't care less if it was the Thunder and Pacers. I actually enjoyed the series. I think they were 2 really good basketball teams. Really evenly balanced, very, very deep. Multiple players being able to do multiple things. I think the Pacers had like 7 guys averaging 15 or more in the playoffs or something like that. Rick Carlisle is a coaching mastermind when it comes to basketball. So I really enjoyed the NBA Finals. But for the casuals out there that Adam Silver's really worried about, they didn't have a LeBron, they didn't have a Steph, they didn't have a Kevin Durant, they didn't have a New York Knicks or a Lakers or a Celtics to watch, and so they weren't interested. And Adam Silver, that just flies all over Adam Silver. Compared to other sports, I'm going to compare the ratings to the 2024 World Series. So that was the World Series from last year, where the Dodgers won. Okay, so remember, Game 7 was 16 million for the NBA Finals. The average viewership for the entire series was 10 million. The 2024 World Series average viewership was 15.8 million. So more people watched last year's World Series than they did this year's NBA Finals. And I know that's just flying all over Adam Silver, and I love it. I love that Adam Silver is worried about that because he's an idiot. And that's just a fact.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is do like what is the answer, or what? Maybe the question is why? Why are the numbers so bad? Do you think?
Yeah,
Do you have any theories? Yeah.
yes, the reason I think is the NBA is in a um, identity crisis right now. It doesn't have it doesn't have a an era right now. Like the 2010s were kind of the super team era. Like LeBron went to the Miami Heat in 2010, 2011. And from then on, other players were joining other players and making super teams. And it was LeBron versus Steph, and who could beat Steph and who could beat LeBron, and nobody could ever beat him. So they always met in the finals. They met 4 years in a row. Like that's almost half the decade. So they kind of had an identity the past 10 years. And now LeBron's kind of fallen off a little bit. Steph obviously won the championship not too long ago, but there isn't a face of the league right now. There isn't a team to beat right now. I think the NBA is in an identity crisis where they don't really know what the best solution is. Is it small market? Is it disparity where we do have a different champion every year, and at the start of the year, it's like, all right, let's start over, and it's going to be somebody completely different this year. Um, or is it, hey, let's go back to super teams and let's have back to back champions and teams trying to three-peat and things like that. I don't think the NBA knows what it wants. I don't think they want super teams. There's a new collective bargaining agreement out there where there's all kinds of penalties for teams who use a lot of money to draw in superstars, and it's helping prevent super teams. That's why you've probably seen recently the Celtics have traded Drew Holiday. They've traded Kristaps Porzingis um, because they were over what's called the second apron of the collective bargaining agreement. I'm not going to go into depth about what it is because I don't totally understand it, but
I was gonna
I
say
do
I
know.
think the Mavs right now they're under the first apron. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct. Yes.
Okay, so that kind of sets us up for some good offseason moves with Kyrie
Correct.
being
And
out and all
and
that stuff.
and
Okay.
we've already kind of done them. Like we signed Daniel Gafford to an extension. We signed
Hmm.
Kyrie to an extension. We're going to get a heck of a deal with Cooper Flag because he's a rookie. So we'll
Yeah.
get him on a rookie contract. So yeah, the Mavs are set up pretty good. But the Celtics were not, and that's why they're kind of trading away some of their players right now. Is because I saw a figure the other day that said they saved $180 million in tax penalties by trading Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday. Like that's how severe this collective bargaining agreement is.
Jeez.
The
Yeah.
NBA is trying to prevent super teams, and I'm good with that. Um, I don't care. I truly don't care what the NBA thinks they want or think they need. Like I just want good basketball. I just want to watch good basketball, and I truly think the Thunder and the Pacers were good basketball. The Pacers moved the ball Spurs esque. They there was a possession in Game 6 when the Pacers won by like 8,000 points, um, where they got a defensive rebound and they got a corner three on the other end, and the ball never touched the floor. They made like four
Wow.
or five passes across court, full court. The ball never touched the floor, and they get a wide open three. That's just good basketball, and that's what I want as an NBA watcher. Other people want flashy highlights and they want superstars, and that's fine too. That's just kind of your, I guess, your cup of tea when it comes to what you want in entertainment.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think going back to your point about the NBA being in an identity crisis, I think also the NBA media has leaned so since like Magic and Bird, they've leaned so hard into individuals that when it comes down to trying to market just good basketball teams, they have no idea what they're doing. They're like, why aren't we talking about LeBron versus Steph right now? Like there's nothing to talk. Like it's just basketball at this point, and they don't know what to do. They like they literally don't have any good habits built up when it comes to covering the NBA. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's also a big part of it because people, for whatever reason, I mean, the media gets clicks, and if the media that they're putting out isn't interesting to people, then if they're seeing the same old crap, then I don't think it's people. That's kind of what gets people to tune in. You know what I mean? If they're seeing stuff about KD on the morning of Game 7, then that's gonna be what they care about, and they're not gonna tune in to the game. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Exactly.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's weird.
Yeah. And I think the media has not ruined, but they have kind of drowned the product of another era that I think we just came out of is the era of debates and LeBron
Hmm.
versus Jordan, the Warriors versus the Bulls, LeBron versus Kevin Durant, LeBron versus Kawhi, who's the best player in the league. Like the media was all about the debates and not about watching the film and critiquing the game and critiquing the teams. And I think that's starting to hurt them because, like you said, they don't really know how to talk about the NBA unless there's a
Like they
star.
they yeah they can't generate any more of those hot takes, those clickbait
Correct.
titles. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that.
Clickbait. Yes.
Once, yeah, exactly. Just a bunch of clickbait titles. They're running out of ammo for that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Absolutely.
There's
And
nothing
I'm
for Skip Bayless to scream about anymore.
exactly right. And I'm happy about it. I'm glad that that's the case because I think most of the people employed, at least at ESPN, are just complete morons. And they're all, in all honesty, they're a bunch of actors just reading a
Yeah.
script. I don't
Yep.
think most of the stuff they even say is what they believe. I think it's just, hey, I'm gonna say LeBron's the best, and you say Jordan's the best, and let's just go with it. Even though they both might think LeBron's the best, or even though they both might think Jordan's the best, they have to
Yeah. There's
disagree. Otherwise, there's nothing to debate.
exactly. There's very few actual journalists left at those huge sport markets. They're all creating their own podcasts.
Yeah. Right.
All the good ones have their own columns and
Yeah.
podcasts and stuff
Yep.
like that. So
Yeah. Um, so anyway, that's kind of my NBA. I do want to hit real quick. Um, I want to talk about the Thunder. Also, I think Kevin Durant on the Rockets is a good trade for the Rockets. Just real quickly, the problem is he's 37 years old. So they've got 1 maybe 2 years of a good Kevin Durant left, and so they're kind of going all in right now. Not all in, but they're taking a chance right now by getting Kevin Durant. Um, they were the 2 seed this year in the Western Conference, and so you add Kevin Durant to that. Now, obviously, they're getting rid of 2 starters, which is not good. Um, but I think it's a win for the Rockets. I think it was a good trade for them, and I think they have a chance next year to possibly win the title.
man, the West is sure getting crowded.
Yeah, and the East is not. That was another thing
No.
I wrote down. The East is so wide open. I heard on Sports Talk Radio the other morning that if you are a Eastern Conference coach or an Eastern Conference general manager, minus like the bottom 5 teams, if you are one of those two people, you are on the hot seat. Because if you don't do something this year, then when are you going to do something? Okay. The
Exactly.
Celtics aren't going to do anything. Jason Tatum is out with a torn Achilles. He'll probably miss the entire year. Tyrese Halliburton is out with a torn Achilles, probably miss the entire year. So there's probably your top 2 teams in the East going into the next year. Then you have the
The
76ers.
Knicks.
Okay,
Okay.
you have the 76ers with Joel Embiid, who hasn't played a full season probably ever. Um,
Yeah.
so you really have 2 teams, the Cavaliers and the Knicks. The Knicks,
Mhm.
I think if you're the Knicks head coach or if you're the Knicks GM, you're on the hot seat. Or if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers coach or their GM, I think you're on the hot seat as well because the East is so wide open right now. I think there will be a dark horse. There will be an Orlando Magic. I really like Paolo Banchero. I also think the Hawks are kind of a dark horse with the addition of Kristaps Porzingis. I think Trae Young and Kristaps will kind of go hand in hand together once again if they're both healthy.
They'll at least be fun to watch, I think.
Yeah, right. They'll be able to shoot it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the West is stacked and the East is not, per usual. I mean, that's pretty much the case every year. But I want to talk about the Thunder and Shai real quick, just because I think they deserve to be talked about. I don't think they're talked about enough for the reasons I said earlier. They're smaller market. They don't have a star. It's not as hot take-ish. It's not as clickbait. But I want to talk about them because they're a good basketball team. I asked the question, where does this Thunder season and where does this Shai Gilgeous-Alexander season? For those of you that don't know, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the Thunder's best player. I asked the question, where does this season rank among other great seasons? You know, when you think of great NBA seasons, you think of Michael Jordan and the Bulls, you think of Steph Curry and the Warriors, you think of Magic and the Lakers, you think of Bird and the Celtics, LeBron, Cavs, Heat, you know, the greatest seasons with the greatest players.
Dirk
and the Mavs. Unfortunately, the Thunder winning this year proved Nico's point that defense does in fact win championships. So I hate you, Thunder.
There you go, Nico. That's the one time we'll give you your props on this podcast. Yeah. Congratulations, Nico Harrison.
But in all seriousness, their defense won them the championship. Obviously, they have the scoring title holder in Shai. Shai averaged 32 points this year in the regular season, averaged 30 plus in the playoffs. Like, yes, you have to score points to win games. I get it. Shai also averaged 1.9 steals and 1.6 blocks in the NBA Finals. So over a span of 7 games, he was getting about 2 steals and about a block and a half per game as a guard. That's pretty impressive.
That's very impressive.
I heard another sports talk radio person, and this was a Mavs guy, saying if Shai's doing it, you know for a fact that other players on that team are going to be trying to do it as well. And I think that's kind of Nico Harrison's point. You don't see Luka really doing that kind of stuff, even though he led the NBA Finals last year in steals, but that's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But you see, it's that lead by example type thing. If Shai's doing it, then we'll do it too. So in terms of the Thunder, okay, I'll start with their season. A couple of stats. I'm going to try to go quick, but a couple of stats for the Thunder. They had 84 wins this year, regular season and playoffs combined. That ties the 95-96 Bulls and the 96-97 Bulls for 84 wins in a season with regular season and playoffs combined. That's 4 short. Okay, so they're second basically with the 2 Bulls teams. They're second behind the 15-16 Warriors that went 73-9 and ended up losing to the GOAT, LeBron James. So they're up there with the Bulls in terms of win totals. Okay, they have the highest point differential ever. So of all the teams they beat this year, however many teams they beat by however many points they beat them, you add it all up, they beat teams by a combined 1,243 points. That's a lot. That's the highest ever. That's a lot. Yep. That needs to be pointed out. And then the last one for the team, for the Thunder, they have the second highest net rating ever. Okay, and so I don't worry, I Googled to define net rating.
Okay.
Yeah. So net rating, that's a stat. Basically, they take their offensive rating, which is how many points your team scores per 100 possessions. Okay. So if you score 95 in 100 possessions, your net rating is 95. Okay. And then they take your defensive rating, which is how many points your team allows per 100 possessions. Okay, so your team allows 50 points per 100 possessions. Your defensive rating is 50. Okay, they take the offensive rating and they subtract the defensive rating. Right.
Okay.
So if your offensive rating is 200 and your defensive rating is 100, your net rating is 100.
100. Got it.
Okay. So they basically take your offense and your defense, and that's how good you are compared to other teams. Okay.
Okay.
They have the second highest ever. The only team to ever beat them, the 96 Chicago Bulls.
Wow. Okay.
So,
I did not realize that the Thunder were playing that kind of basketball this year.
Yeah, the Thunder were very well, not very well. They were very under talked about, in my opinion, because the NBA is stupid and doesn't talk about good basketball. They only talk about drama, politics, and superstars. So hopefully that's changing in the near future. But I just want to add one more thing about Shai, and then we'll move on. Shai won this year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander won the regular season MVP, the scoring title, which means he averaged the most points of any NBA player. Mm-hmm. He won, obviously, the finals, and he won the finals MVP. So he kind of won the three biggest awards at least, and then the scoring title can be considered a big award as well. 3 other players have done that in the history of the NBA. Okay? Wow. Shaq did it once in like 99, 2000, I think. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did it in 1970, 1971 season. And then your boy, MJ, did it 4 times.
Oh my gosh.
So MJ takes the crown, but still, like, you're in the same conversation, and that goes to show, like, it wasn't just a finals MVP. Like, you were good for 4 to 7 games. No, you were good for 100 games. You won the MVP, you won the scoring title, you averaged 33 points a game, 32.7 or something like that. You won the finals, you won the championship, and then you were the best player during that series. Like, props to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. A lot of people don't give him credit. They say he's a free throw merchant. At times he is, but in all honesty, who isn't in the NBA at this point? And so I just want to shout out Shai because I truly think he had one of the better seasons ever for an individual player. And I think this season alone has gotten him a Hall of Fame induction already. I think he's already a Hall of Fame player because of this season alone. I don't know how you keep him out when he's mentioned with those other players that we talked about. And honestly, so,
yeah, that's a ridiculous season.
Yeah. Wow. So shout out to Shai, shout out to the Thunder. Even though I don't like you, I was rooting for the yes sirs, the Pacers. But kudos to the Thunder because they were a really good basketball team, and that's what I'm looking for when I'm watching the NBA. So thank you, Oklahoma City Thunder, and I hope you get beat by the Mavs every single time you play them.
Well,
that's my NBA rant. That's it. That's all I have. Only 42 minutes worth of ranting right there.
That's why we have the podcast, for these NBA rants. It's good stuff. I think the people enjoy listening to them.
Yeah. If you haven't figured out by now, we like the NBA and we like movies, and so that leads us into our next segment.
That's right. Yeah, we're kind of doing another split right down the middle podcast where we talk about the NBA first and then we just go straight into movies. And you know what? That's just yada yada for you. And speaking of movies, I have some kind of breaking news. So this is coming out of an article from Deadline, but one of my favorite film franchises of all time is James Bond, the 007 franchise. I love a lot of those movies, not all of them, but I do love quite a few James Bond movies. And Amazon, who now owns James Bond, Amazon MGM, they own James Bond. They bought it, I think, recently. But they have just announced the next director for the newest 007 movie coming to you sometime. I don't know when. I doubt the script's even written yet, but it's in development, early development. And Denis Villeneuve. Do you know who Denis Villeneuve is?
No, I was hoping you were going to say Christopher Nolan.
Oh yeah, that I was kind of holding out. That seems like a match made in heaven. Christopher Nolan and James Bond, and he's always talking about how much he loves those movies.
Yeah.
But it looks like Amazon has gone out and gotten Denis Villeneuve, who has directed quite a few movies that I love, going all the way back to Sicario is a great
Okay.
movie. I love Arrival. Blade Runner 2049 was on my Desert Island top 10. He also directed that.
Okay.
And most recently, he's the director of the two new Dune movies with Timothée Chalamet.
Okay.
So the guy is he's
Got a
up
good
there on
track
top.
record.
Yeah, he's up there on top of the mountain with Christopher Nolan. They're both
Yeah.
kind of chilling above the pack at the
Yeah.
moment in Hollywood.
Okay.
And it looks like Denis is going to be set to direct the new James Bond movie. So that's pretty cool. Shout out to our good friend T-Pain for sending me that text while you were talking.
Another recovering MFFL right there. I'd like to know his thoughts on the NBA draft.
Yeah,
Leave a,
no,
leave a
I'm sure.
comment, Shane.
Yeah, leave a comment, buddy. All right,
Hey,
but yeah, leading in.
before you go on, another great movie that's about to come out. Happy Gilmore 2. That's
I did
I'm
watch the
very
trailer.
much
It
looking
looks
forward to
pretty
that movie.
hilarious.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that movie. It's not quite a James Bond or a whatever that director's name is, but it's got Adam Sandler and it's gonna be funny. So it's
Oh
my
yeah,
kind of movie.
oh yeah. And while we're on that track, I might as well shout out the new. I am looking forward to some summer blockbusters. We're gonna be talking about summer blockbusters here in a second, but I'm looking forward to the Superman movie. It's just called Superman. It's coming out July 11th. Tickets are on sale right now, so I'm excited to go watch the new Superman movie. I think it's going to be a good time. Resetting the DC universe, so that's always fun, I guess. Kind of like the Mavs resetting the franchise right now. DC
Ooh,
is resetting the universe, and so with Superman.
good tie-in right there.
Yeah, that's pretty good, huh? Anyway, I'm excited about Superman, and I'm also excited about the new Brad Pitt movie F1. It's about
Yes, I am excited about that as well. Yep.
Formula One racing. I'm not big into Formula One. Actually, I don't even know if I've probably watched it a couple times randomly, but I'm not a huge fan. I have a lot of people, strangely, a lot of people that I work with are huge Formula One fans. Most of them are women, and I think that has to do with the reality. I think there's like a reality show out right now
Hmm.
that just covers the lives of these dudes, and
Interesting.
so it's like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but they're Formula One racers.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
think it's a popular, like, it's kind of like soccer. Like, I think Formula One's a little foreign.
yeah.
And I think that helps its popularity, at least worldwide. But yeah, I'm
And they
excited about that
also
movie too.
drive cool foreign cars. I think there's some
Yeah, right. And they
Ferraris
go really
and
fast.
oh yeah. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. Also, the director of F1 is the same guy that did Top Gun Maverick. So
So I saw
here we go.
this might be related to that, but I saw a
Okay.
review um, about F1 and it said the Top Gun of the ground.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
That's what I'm expecting. So they
that's
better
that's a
deliver.
pretty big claim. So it better be, or otherwise I'm going to give it a poor Rotten Tomatoes score.
Right. The only thing that I'm hesitant about this movie is that the runtime just looks too long. I think it's like 2.5 hours.
Mm.
And for a racing movie, I just wish it was a little tighter. I just wish the runtime was just like I wish it was a lean and mean racing movie and not just 2.5 hours of, like, I don't want them to put any filler in there. I want it to be
Yeah.
like, crazy, balls to the wall from the beginning to the end. But
Right.
we'll
Yeah.
see. Maybe it
We'll
will
see,
be.
yeah.
Maybe it's going to be
Yeah.
2.5 hours of that, and
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
But moving on to our second main topic of the day. What better way to celebrate Yada Yada's 10th episode anniversary than honoring the 50th anniversary of Steven Spielberg's Jaws. And one of the so I'll read you for all you people that have been living under a rock and haven't seen Jaws. I will read you the description of the movie ripped from the pages of Wikipedia. Jaws is a Jaws is a 1975 American thriller film directed by Steven Spielberg, based on the 1974 novel by Peter Benchley, based on the novel. It stars Roy Scheider as Police Chief Martin Brody, who, with the help of a marine biologist, played by Richard Dreyfuss, and a professional shark hunter, played by the great Robert Shaw, may he rest in peace, hunts a man-eating great white shark that attacks beachgoers at a New England summer resort town. So that's kind of the basic setup and premise of Steven Spielberg's Jaws. And as you all know, one of the pillars of the Yada Yada podcast has been the hot take. We're just turned into ESPN. It's just sludge over here.
I just spent 40 minutes bashing the NBA and ESPN, and we're about to give hot takes.
But yeah, well, we both had plenty of hot takes across the 9 episodes that we've done so far.
Yep.
Hot take Hayden in the comments. He's had a few, many a hot take, including Jordan at third all time, which still chaps my khakis. But one day we just need to do an episode reflecting on all the many hot takes that we've had on this podcast and seeing which ones hold up and which ones are just too outrageous, like that one.
Take that one.
That said, the reason I bring that up is to prepare you for yet another. And for this hot take, I do declare that Jaws is still the quintessential summer blockbuster. Now, I have a feeling.
Let me just stop you right there. Quintessential, for all you people out there that are on my wavelength. Quintessential he means GOAT. He means the best.
Right. Jaws is the greatest summer blockbuster. Still the greatest summer blockbuster of all time. And so I have a feeling I might not get too much pushback from that many people in the chat on this one. I could be wrong. It's all very subjective when we get into these discussions about what movies we like the most. But I don't think that I'll get too much pushback in the chat about the greatest summer blockbuster of all time being Jaws. At least not after I give my spiel. But
spiel for your Spielberg?
Exactly. But I am fairly certain that you consider this a hot take, and really that's all that matters. So
yeah. I don't have. I'm going to go ahead and say I don't have it at number 1. I'll let you give your spiel. And then I'm going to play some devil's advocate and list some other movies, but I am open-minded. I don't have it at number 1, but by the end of your spiel, if it's anything like your Shakespeare spiel when we talked about books, then you might be changing my mind in the next 2 to 5 minutes.
That was pretty. I don't know if I can recreate that epicness, but I'll give it my best shot.
Yeah.
But to before I get started, y'all might be wondering what qualifies something as a summer blockbuster, and it's pretty simple. There's 4 key points that I have in mind. Basically, you have to have a wide release from any time from May through early September, so kind of May through Labor Day. So it opens on thousands of screens across the country or globally on the same weekend. So that's kind of number 1. Number 2, for it to be a blockbuster, hence the name, it has to be a box office juggernaut. So we're talking about a movie that makes a lot of money. Okay.
Yep.
Along those lines, so those are really the only 2 you need. But along those lines, to make it the greatest, it has to have mass appeal. Okay. So maybe not necessarily family friendly, but you're looking at a movie that's marketing to possibly 4 quadrants. So maybe kids, teens, adults, both men and women, stuff like that. Okay.
Yep.
So mass appeal. And then the last thing is event level marketing. Okay. So heavy promotional campaigns, a lot of merchandise going out, fast food tie-ins, trailers all over the place, studios treating it like it's a cultural event. Okay.
Yep.
So those are the four main things that make it a summer blockbuster. So this is why I think Jaws. First of all, I think Jaws checks every single one of those boxes and more.
Definitely.
And
Yep,
so
definitely.
yeah, so I'll get into that. So it's as far as the first point, so big budget and spectacle for its time, anyways. So at the time, it was a $9 million budget. Okay, and then I'll give you the numbers here in a second with all that stuff adjusted for inflation.
Yep.
But 9 million, which was a decent size, that's kind of equivalent to a mid-range budget these days. But Jaws did push the technical limits of filmmaking. The mechanical shark. So Bruce was the name of the mechanical shark. and,
Bruce.
Bruce, and that callback from Finding Nemo has to be a reference to Jaws, which
I was
I did.
wondering.
It has to be. I haven't confirmed that, but it has to be.
Yeah.
But the mechanical shark, which was a special effects gamble, and it was rarely seen, but it ends up being really effective throughout the movie, and I'll explain that here in a second. Mass appeal. So this is technically a thriller. You could say it's a horror movie if you want, but it's basically a thriller. But it's not a niche horror movie. It's a blended. It does what Steven Spielberg can do so good and blend genres. It's got thriller elements, adventure elements, horror elements, some great drama. And even tons of comedy sprinkled throughout too. So it's kind of got it all, but it's wrapped up in like a thriller movie package. A
Yep.
thriller
I
movie
agree with that.
blueprint.
Yep.
Yeah. Mass appeal, so teenagers could go see it. I think adults, families, yeah. It's the only thing. So this movie is rated PG, if you can believe it. This is a PG rated movie, and
Yep.
it starts with a naked lady being eaten by a shark. So,
Right. PG in 1975 is not PG nowadays. In the
I think
woke
they, I think
world we
they, I
live
think the
in.
only, yeah, exactly. I think the only curse word that they don't use is the F word in this movie.
Yeah.
They
Right.
use just about every single other one, and
Yeah.
there's plenty of disgusting violence as well
Right.
that would not be. And the reason that it's not PG-13, well, it might have been rated R, but it could have been rated R maybe. But the reason it's not PG-13 at least is because PG-13 wasn't invented at the time. Did you
Right.
know that?
I did
Uh,
not know that, but that does not surprise me.
it took Spielberg to create another movie that invented PG-13,
Ah, what
and
a
that's actually
psycho.
actually the second Indiana Jones movie, the Indiana
Oh,
Jones and the Temple of Doom. It had some grotesque sequences, and so they thought, let's invent PG-13,
yeah.
and then we'll call
Smart.
it a day. Yeah,
Call good move.
before
Yeah, good
before
move.
we get phone calls from angry families about this one.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, so but you also had event level marketing. So Jaws was really one of the first, if not the first movie ever to be promoted like a national event. So there were nationwide TV ad campaigns, which was kind of a first for Hollywood in 1975. There were crazy posters and magazine covers and the word of mouth frenzy. You know what I mean? And then not only that, but the theme music, so the iconic theme music by John Williams became instantly a part of pop culture. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And so just the marketing campaign for this movie was unlike anything Hollywood had ever seen at the time. And it also, speaking of something that Hollywood hadn't seen at the time, it was a huge wide release that was kind of unheard of. So it released in over 400 screens at once, which again unheard of at the time in 1975. Universal and Spielberg took a risk on saturation marketing and wide release, which ended up paying off. You know, and then
Saturation
also
marketing, meaning like
meaning
just
just
bringing
like
over so much stuff out there.
yeah, like just flooding as much as they could, putting a bunch of money into the marketing as well, which is not
Right.
something
Yeah.
that they had done before. Universal just dumping tons of money, which nowadays they budget for that,
Yeah.
obviously.
Right.
That but before then it was just like let's dump this movie. They were also on a schedule to like because the book had just come out in the year before. So
Right.
74, I think the book had come out, and it was a big hit. The book in 1974 apparently, and so to try to keep up with the hype from the book, they were pushing the marketing with the book. Like it's kind of the first time that like these days you see books that have been adapted into movies, but on the book it's the movie poster. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
That hadn't been done before until Jaws, from what I can tell. And
Okay.
and Jaws was the first one that like did a wide re-release of the book in paperback form with the movie poster as the cover, which was
Gotcha.
pretty cool, and it also just got the word out there. And also that movie poster, maybe another hot take, but I think it's the most iconic movie poster of all time. If you see, you don't even need the word Jaws on that poster. You can just see the shark underneath the lady that's swimming, and it's
Yep.
just you instantly know that's Jaws. That's
Yeah.
all you need. And I
Yeah.
hate so much all of the posters these days with just the floating heads. It's just a bunch of heads on a poster of all the main characters, and it gets so tired. And I wish we'd go back to the days where you could just put a shark on the poster, and
Simplicity.
that would sell the movie. I mean, that's all you need. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And then
yeah.
also with that, I mean, the sequels that they made were pretty terrible, but this Jaws is a movie that kind of spawns franchise potential. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said, they made I think 4 other Jaws movies, and I don't think any of them hold a candle to the first one. Um, but it it does have franchise potential, this movie.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't really designed that way. It just kind of became that way by accident, just because it was literally the first blockbuster. This is when blockbusters were invented. And I mean, I guess the name came from people lining up around the block to go get a
Yeah.
movie ticket. But Jaws invented the modern summer blockbuster as we know it, with this crazy marketing campaign and the not necessarily the special effects, but just that kind of hype surrounding the movie.
Yep.
And then,
You agree with
like I
that?
said, yeah, and then like I said, it went even farther by it redefined what a hit movie could be. So it became the highest grossing movie, the highest grossing film of all time until Star Wars 2 years later. But but until before Star Wars came out, this was the highest grossing movie of all time. It stayed number one at the box office for 14 weeks straight, which I don't believe had been done before. And this so in just adjusted for 2025 inflation, here's what Jaws did at the box office. So the original budget was $9 million. Apparently, adjusted for inflation, that's going to be somewhere around 49 and a half, $50 million. And so that's about the level of a mid-budget movie today.
Yeah. That
Um, you
doesn't
know,
seem like a whole lot.
no. The budget was not that crazy, but the original worldwide box office, so it made 476.5 million at the box office in 1975.
So they
Adjusted for
made their money
inflation,
back.
yeah, no, adjusted for inflation, that's about $2.5 billion.
That's a
So
bit.
that's like rivaling Avengers Endgame and Avatar as like, yeah, adjusted for inflation, one of the
Okay.
highest grossing movies of all time. You know what I mean?
That's impressive.
So
Yep.
yeah, so it made a lot of money back in 1975, and it kind of created the concept of the summer movie season. So before Jaws, summer was kind of a dead zone for movies. It's where Hollywood just kind of dumped whatever they had left over, and they saved all their prestige stuff for for the wintertime for whatever reason. I don't know why people didn't go see movies in the summer back then as much,
Yeah.
but
I would
that's
think
just
that would be prime time for movies. Like,
you would think,
especially
but
like families and kids and like school's out, nothing to do. Let's go see a movie.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I don't know why that's the case, but Jaws came out in the summer, and all of a sudden it was just huge hit, and the summer movie season was kind of created in its biggest form at that point. Um, and now summer is like is kind of prime time for Hollywood's biggest bets. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
uh,
Like
we
some
got
of
the
the
new
ones that I'm
Superman
gonna
movie
read.
coming out. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, Let's see here, and yeah, like I said, changed audience behavior. So people were lining up around the block. It was kind of a communal thing. Hype was crazy, and it made going to the movies a kind of a summer ritual from then on, in America at least. And not only that, but to get into a little bit about the filmmaking and not just the stats, but if necessity, they say necessity is the mother of invention. Well, if necessity is the mother of invention, then I think constraint is the mother of creativity. What I mean by that is there are few movie productions that have ever been as constrained and troubled and plagued as Jaws. And it's kind of it's pretty infamous at this point, the trouble behind the scenes of this movie. Just to go through a few points, the filmmaking took 3 times longer than scheduled. So they planned to shoot for 55 days. It took them 159. So
Wow.
that's, yeah, way over schedule. By the way, Spielberg was 26 when he made this movie, which is
Oh,
just insane. That's my
impressive.
age. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Cooper Flagg's only 18, so suck it.
Right. Yeah. Let's see here. But okay, like I said earlier, the mechanical shark, Bruce, constantly malfunctioned because they decided to shoot in the ocean, not in a tank. So that also contributed to the it going way over schedule, was
Yeah.
because
I've heard that
Spielberg.
before.
Yeah, I mean, Spielberg was a young filmmaker who didn't know what not to do. And I think
Yeah.
if Spielberg had made this movie at his current age, then he would have found a lot of ways to make this movie not as enjoyable. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
because of those limitations, the script was constantly being rewritten. Anyway, so Spielberg insisted on shooting in the ocean, not a tank, causing weather delays. You can't predict the ocean, so salt water corroded tons of equipment. So that caused a bunch of technical failures, including the shark. It just rusted right through the shark. And so that they were constantly having issues with that. Camera equipment often sank or was damaged, especially during the sea shots. Actors and crew suffered from seasickness and sun exposure. Gotta watch out. Just bobbing around on a boat for 8 hours a day, shooting a movie, trying to act. I can't imagine it. And there's tons of people talking about how it was just so terrible to make, including Spielberg. He always says how it's a fun movie to watch, terrible movie to make.
Yeah.
But boats drifted out of position during takes, so that gave him issues. Tensions on set between actors. So Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss, who play Hooper and Quint and Hooper, I guess. But they were just constantly fighting. Robert Shaw was just like in full-fledged alcoholism mode at this point of his career. So he was just completely out of it. I think he died 3 years later from liver disease or something.
A little bit of alcoholism.
But he's so great in this movie. But he was just out of his mind for a lot of this shoot, and it caused a lot of tension between him and Richard Dreyfuss. He's just calling him fat and cowardly the whole time. He's daring him to. Yeah, he dared him to climb up the mast of the Orca, which is the ship that Quint owns in the movie. And it's like, I don't know, 70 feet tall. And he's daring him to climb on to the mast and just jump off of it. And Spielberg's like, we need him for the movie. Anyway, so yeah, Robert Shaw was out of his mind in this movie. The script was unfinished and had to be constantly rewritten. So they adapted it from a book. So they kind of had that as the bare bones, but Spielberg had to rewrite a lot of it because it's kind of a trashy book. I mean, not to disparage the author, but it is a little trashy. It's like half of the book is talking about the mafia, and that's why the mayor doesn't want to close down the town, and the police chief's wife has an affair with Hooper, and there's all this stuff that didn't make the movie for very good reasons.
Yeah.
But the original shark attack scenes were just unconvincing, and so that forced rewrites, and that kind of created the what I was getting to at the beginning of this rant is the less is more approach. And because the movie is 2 hours long ish, the shark. I'll let you guess how many minutes the shark is actually on screen.
Because of the way you're phrasing it, I'm going to say 10.
That's a solid guess, but no, 4.
Oh my gosh.
Jaws is literally in the movie for 4 minutes. Now, that Spielberg describes that as kind of a godsend because he had to come up with creative ways to tell the audience that Jaws was there without them seeing the mechanical shark in the water that was constantly malfunctioning. And so that's where there's like a lot of the barrel sequences come in, where they shoot a harpoon into Jaws, and the barrels, as soon as they float up, you don't need to see the shark because you see the barrels, he's there.
Right.
And you can use the actors more in that sense, the less is more approach, because you can play off their fear and have them know the shark. For being the shark is there. A dog gets eaten, but you never see the attack. You just see the person looking for their dog with like the leash, like calling for the dog. And so that's almost more terrifying. What you can't see in this movie is more terrifying than what you can see. You know what I mean? And it is a great thriller because of that. And there have been other movies that use that approach. Like they marketed to try to greenlight Alien, the movie Alien. They said this is Jaws in space, and they said okay, let's make it. So there have been. I mean, people have taken this blueprint and really ran with it. And there was tons of other issues.
I'd say the music too. Like you've already kind of hit on the music too, but like when that dun like when you hear that, he's here, even if you don't see him.
Yeah, and I think that might be what's aged maybe the best about this movie is the fact that John Williams created one of the most iconic scores for any thriller ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's so recognizable. It's up there with like the Star Wars theme or the Rocky theme. Like as soon as you hear it, that's where that's from. And it's been used in plenty of other media as well. It's in an episode of SpongeBob, for crying out loud. Mr. Krabs playing conducting the orchestra.
I do remember that. Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is also from what I hear. I wasn't alive in 1975. For all you people that don't know.
Yeah.
But it also changed.
His music taste has a different view on that. His music taste will say he was born then, but
yeah, it might sound like it based on previous episodes, but I'm not. Still in my 20s. But I from what I have researched half-heartedly on the internet, apparently this kind of changed how people. It made them scared to go into the ocean in the summer of 1975, which makes sense.
Right. So.
Yeah, and so and also the phrase "you're going to need a bigger boat" is one of the most iconic movie lines of all time. You could put it against any of the most iconic movie lines of all time, and I think it stacks up great. It's so great, and even people who haven't seen the movie, know what that is. You know what I mean? I feel like Jaws is another one of those cases where it's so ingrained in pop culture that people just know what Jaws is. Even if you've never seen the movie, if you look at the poster, even if it doesn't say Jaws, oh, that's the poster for Jaws. You hear the music, oh, that's the music for Jaws. We're gonna need a bigger boat. Oh, that's from Jaws, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's just so ingrained in culture.
Yeah.
And so Jaws doesn't just fit the mold for my criteria of a summer blockbuster. It created the mold. It checks all those boxes. And there's really, I don't think there's another movie for me anyways. The only one that rivals Jaws that really captures the feel of the summer movie season for me is a real personal one to me, and it's Sandlot, which is funny that we sent a couple Sandlot gifs or gifs back and forth today, which was not planned.
No.
But Sandlot is really the only movie for me, and that's kind of a nostalgic one for me. But it's really the only one that captures the feel of the summer movie season. The only one that rivals Jaws anyway. And really this movie, as much as it is called Jaws and it's a thriller and it's a movie about a shark, and there are terrifying sequences, it really lives and breathes with its characters. it's such a great drama. It's such a great character study. You know, when you get to the second half of the movie, the first half is it's like split into two halves. The first half you're dealing with like kind of a murder, almost a murder mystery. They're trying to catch the shark that killed these people, and you're kind of introduced to the cast. And I rewatched it a couple days ago to kind of prepare for this, but you pick up so many little things in that first half of the movie that make the second half so much better. I won't go into detail on all of them, but there are all these little character beats and character moments when you're introduced to Brody and introduced to Hooper, and then also Quint's introduction is maybe the most iconic introduction in all of movies when he comes into the town hall meeting and he starts scratching his fingernails on the chalkboard. And that's one of the most iconic introduction scenes of all time for any character. But that second half of the movie is really where it has its hooks in you. You know, no pun intended. But you want to be on that boat, even though it's terrifying at times. There are little moments where you could see yourself on that boat having a great time trying to catch this fish with Hooper and with Brody and with Quint. And my favorite scene in the movie, which I mean, I could just rewatch this scene over and over and over, even on like YouTube or something. But it's the scene where Quint, where the three guys are in the boat and they're sitting at the table, sort of Brody standing up, but they're talking, they're comparing scars, and so Quint is showing him, you know, he's got some old scars, and Hooper's like, hey, I got that beat, and they're comparing scars, and they show each other scars on their legs, and then Quint's like, I'll drink to your leg, and they're drinking to each other's legs. And they're kind of getting drunk, and all of a sudden Brody says, well, what's that one? And Quint says, oh, that's a tattoo. I had it removed, and Hooper makes a joke, and then Quint grabs Hooper's arm and says, that right there is the USS Indianapolis. And then all of a sudden you see Hooper sober up immediately. He immediately sobers up, and Brody has no idea. He's us in this scene, Brody. He's us throughout the movie. He has no idea what he's doing on a boat. He's a cop from New York. He's just trying to kill this fish.
Yeah.
But Brody, the police chief Brody, he's still kind of laughing, and then it goes into this one of the greatest monologues of all time, where Quint starts explaining what happened on the USS Indianapolis, where, you know, he's talking about delivering a bomb to the Hiroshima bomb to Japan. He was part of the Navy or whatever, and his mission was so secret that Japanese torpedoes slammed into his submarine or whatever, and it starts to sink. And then there was nobody there to rescue him for a week, and all of a sudden these sharks come, and there's like 1,100 dudes, and like more than half of them are all eaten by sharks. And Quint's explaining the story, and Brody and Hooper are just like, whoa, like this guy's got. And then that's when you learn not only that Quint is not just a caricature, he's an actual character that has a backstory and a reason. He has a reason for being out here hunting these sharks. It's almost like every shark he kills is kind of recompense for a comrade that he had die in a shark attack. Anyway, it's such a great scene, and I can't do it justice just by talking about it. You just got to go watch the movie. But like I said, this movie is a character study. It's a great drama, and it also just happens to have some of the greatest music of all time with John Williams. It's just a perfect storm of all the stuff that should have gone wrong went wrong, and that made the movie better. All the stuff that went as right as it could have been, and it's just the perfect summer blockbuster. And it's every time summer rolls around, I at least have to watch it once a year for me with this movie. And so many quotable lines, not just "you're going to need a bigger boat." There are tons of lines in this movie that you could quote, and that I do regularly. So that's my spiel for why for why Jaws is still the greatest summer blockbuster of all time.
Yeah, that deserves. I need to figure out how to put like round of applause into the recording because that was impressive. Um, I obviously I don't know. I didn't know all the things that you told me. I knew a little bit of it. I knew the shark. I remember, or I've heard that the shark malfunctioned quite a bit. I did not realize that they actually filmed in the ocean. That
Yeah.
that's news to me. That's pretty impressive. Um, I agree with the fact that it is the inventor of summer blockbusters. I don't know of any movies before 1975 at all, much less some summer blockbusters. But yeah, Jaws. I mean, June 20th, 1975. You're not going to find one before that. Um, my I guess argument is nostalgia plays a big role. My argument with your take, nostalgia plays a big role. It goes in. We've talked about NBA players and sports stars, and um, you grow up watching this movie, and you think no other movie is going to be better, or you grow up watching this player, and you think no player's going to be better, just because of nostalgia. So I think there's a little bit of an argument there. Um, it's clear now that we have all the technology that we have, the CGI, the AI, the effects, the new money and all that stuff. Now it's very clear that the shark is very fake.
Right.
Back
Yeah,
then,
of course.
it was not clear at all. Well, I say not clear at all. Back then it was probably pretty impressive to have a giant shark on screen, do what you want it to do and look real. Much like the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park or things like that.
And
Um,
I think for that point, the reason that the big rubbery fake shark doesn't bother me on rewatches is because of the performances actually of the actors. I think if you're invested in the emotion of the character and you actually care about what they're doing, like if you're hooked with a character, I don't think however bad the special effects are, for me anyways, it doesn't hinder any kind of that experience. It doesn't really take me out of it because because I have in the back of my mind the whole time that I'm watching something fake. Like I know this isn't a documentary, and so I know this is all staged. But if I'm on board with the emotions of the character, that's what gets me through those moments where there's some shoddy special effects. And still to this day, I mean, even movies these days have some pretty spotty special effects every once in a while. But if I'm on board with the characters, I can generally look past that. But I do appreciate some spotless special effects.
Yeah. I think that goes with any movie. I mean, if you're bought into the characters and you're bought into the emotions of them, you can get past some of the flaws of a movie. But yeah, I like that you brought up Sandlot because here's what I just to kind of go back into our debate. Here's what I kind of did to play devil's advocate. I tried to find first of all, I tried to find movies in your window. May to Labor Day. And I
Mm-hmm.
did find a few good ones. But I also trying to find movies that were summer based. Like it's not just a movie that was released during the summer, but also a movie that's kind of in the movie. It's summertime. And that was kind of hard to do. Movies that are good. But I'm glad you brought up Sandlot because Sandlot was the only one that I really thought deserve to be talked about with Jaws in terms of it's summertime. It's during like it's a summer based movie inside
Mm-hmm.
the movie. And so I'm glad you brought up the Sandlot. Just off record, Sandlot is my favorite sports movie of all time. So um,
I think we might have that in common.
mm,
Rocky, the first Rocky is up there for me as well, but honestly, I might pick The Sandlot.
Yeah.
It's such. I'm not a baseball player. I didn't play. I mean, I played little league and stuff, but I probably played little league because I wanted to be like Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
Yeah. Right.
My
Yeah.
PF
Unless you
Flyers.
consider, like, which I don't, like Talladega Nights or something like that as a sports movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sandlot's my favorite sports movie. So I'm glad you brought that up. That was the only other kind of summer movie that I could think of that really deserved to be in the same conversation as Jaws. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to give you 4 other summer blockbusters um, based on your criteria. Released
All right.
May through Labor Day. I'm going to kind of go back over it. May through Labor Day, um, and it was all on the same weekend. Everywhere it was released on the same weekend. It was a box office juggernaut. So made a lot of money. A lot of people saw it. Everybody knows what it is. Mass appeal. So kids can watch it. Teenagers, adults, grandparents, they can all watch it. And then the marketing, event level marketing, um, campaigns, trailers, media coverage, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So the first one, it was released June 11th, 1993. Um, this goes into I guess a little bit of Jaws and the CGI stuff. It kind of set the standard maybe for visual effects, and that is Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park was released in June 11th, 1993. So that's considered a summer blockbuster. Not a summer movie, like I said. It was hard to find movies about summer, but a movie released during the summer. So
Right.
Jurassic Park. Um,
Absolutely up there. Another Spielberg and John Williams.
Another Spielberg. Yep.
Yep.
Another summer blockbuster released. You can probably tell me what movie this is, but it was May 25th, 1977.
That has to be Star Wars.
That is Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope.
Yep.
That's a George Lucas one. That was the first of the Star Wars franchise.
It
And
was.
you think about Star Wars now, talk about event level marketing. Good grief. I mean, they've got whole amusement parks for it. And they've
Yeah.
got other movies and other shows built off of it, and you know who Darth Vader is, and you know the lines "Luke, I am your father" and all that kind of stuff. And so Star Wars. Talk about a
Yeah,
blockbuster.
Lucas.
That's a
Yeah,
blockbuster.
Lucas took that blueprint that Spielberg made with Jaws, and he took it to the next level.
Yeah,
Definitely. I mean,
yeah,
Star Wars was unlike anything, just based on documentaries I've watched and stuff. But I think it was
yeah,
unlike anything that Hollywood had ever seen. Just like Jaws was, but on a bigger level. I mean, Lucas
yeah.
even he created like he was the first filmmaker that got the rights to like marketing for, or I mean, to merchandising for like toys. Like Lucas had the
Ah,
sole rights for toys for Star Wars, which were just flying off the shelves. So
yeah.
that's actually
You
where he made a
still
lot of
are.
his money.
Yeah.
Yeah, still are.
And so so Star Wars Episode 4 that was released May 25th, 1977. Um,
And here's the reason, while you're at it on Star Wars, that I don't put Star Wars higher than Jaws when it comes to summer movie blockbusters. First of all, Jaws is when I think of summer movies, Jaws just comes to my mind, and so
yeah.
Star Wars doesn't come to my mind when I think of summer movies. Maybe that's because I grew up in an era where Disney was releasing Star Wars movies in December, and
Yeah.
that might have a lot to do with it. I mean, obviously May the 4th is a thing, but also I think Star Wars. Like I said, if Lucas would have stopped in '77, maybe it's the number one summer blockbuster. But um, I think Star Wars it just created such a mythology that I think it doesn't fit perfectly into that summer blockbuster box. Does that make sense? Like I
Yeah.
think I think it's just too big at this point. And that's coming from somebody who Star Wars Episode 4 is my favorite movie of all time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
but when I think of like if I have to choose a summer blockbuster, that just it's just Jaws that comes to my mind. So that's it's just there's something with instinct when it comes to that. But yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and there's nothing wrong with that. It goes. I mean, any greatness debate, when you hear greatness, people come to mind, movies come to mind, like greatness when you're talking about basketball. Like, oh, that's Michael
Mhm.
Jordan. Like, even though Michael Jordan might not be the best basketball player of all time in your opinion or my opinion or others' opinions, when you think of greatness, like, oh yeah, Michael Jordan, you know.
Right.
And so yeah, so Star Wars, that was another one. That's your favorite movie of all time. My favorite movie of all time, The Dark Knight. It was released
Oh,
July 18th, 2008. Um, that's another your boy Christopher Nolan. That's a Christopher Nolan movie that we kind of talked about earlier. It it is the superhero film of all superhero films, in my opinion. Um, the best villain of any superhero, in my opinion, is the Dark Knight's Joker with Heath Ledger. It was
definitely.
one of the most legendary performances ever. Um, and so The Dark Knight is another summer blockbuster. And then the last one I came up with, which for all you youngsters out there, younger than us, well, I guess even us, you're going to like this one, Avengers Endgame. Now, that came out April 26th. And so that kind of that a little bit falls out of your time window, but I did want to include it just because it was kind of the culmination, the finale of the Avengers. Even though they're still making stuff, it's not the same. But it was kind of like it says the end game of the Avengers,
Yeah.
um, which was a movie series that had been going on for 10 years. I think Iron Man came out in '09, and so it was a decade long movie series. It was 100% a box office juggernaut. I think when we talked about
Oh
movies, it
yeah.
was like top three ever behind the two Avatars or something like that.
Hmm.
Or that might have been Infinity War, but still,
I think
Avengers
it was
is
in game. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, Avengers is. I said the Dark Knight is superhero of all superhero movies, but Avengers is right there with it, just because of the way the Russo brothers kind of planned it and the way it worked out for them. So there's four other ones. I'm not gonna argue with you. When I think of summer, when you first said summer blockbuster, I thought of movies about summer. I didn't think of movies that came out during the summer, because I don't think that's the same. So I'm gonna go with you and say Jaws is probably the best summer blockbuster, because, like you said, it's what you think of. Like when you think of a summer movie, Jaws is the movie you think of. You think of going to the beach, you think of sharks, and you think of the ocean, and you can't go to the ocean and not think about Jaws. Like you can't watch Shark Week and not think about Jaws. You can't
Right.
like it was the beginning of it might be the beginning of humanity's fear of sharks. Like people who are scared of sharks, it probably stems back to this Jaws movie that's not even real. Um, and now
Right.
you've got Shark Week, and you've got when shark attacks happen, like they're covered like crazy, and beaches shut down, and it all probably started in 1975.
I
Um,
think I
in
think
that
that's
movie.
definitely the case for me because I just like anything ginormous in the water, it just freaks me out like nothing else.
Yeah,
Like the
you're not a
ocean
big
freaks
whale
me out
guy.
more than space. I hate whales so much.
Yeah,
I respect them, but man, are they just the most terrifying things ever.
yeah. I don't think I'm as scared of the
Yeah.
ocean. I am much more interested in the ocean than I am of anything else,
Well,
especially space.
there's only like what, like 10% that we've actually just like explored,
Yeah,
or
right.
5% or something ridiculous. So there's no
Yeah,
telling what's just chilling down there. It's disgusting.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, go watch the Meg, and it'll tell you what's chilling down there.
Yeah, that's
Giant
true.
megalodon under the earth. Um,
Only
yeah.
Jason
So
Statham can stop it.
yeah. So I'm gonna go with you. I'll agree with you here. We'll go the opposite of ESPN, and we'll agree on
Look at
something.
that.
Um,
Yeah, like
that
mature
Jaws,
adults.
yeah,
Take some
Jaws
notes,
might be
ESPN.
Jaws might be the best summer blockbuster of all time. 50 years, 50th anniversary just a few days ago. So for all you oldies out there, or all you wise people out there that remember when it was released, you're getting up there. Just FYI.
Spielberg's still making movies, if you can believe it. He's still cranking them out every year, so that's pretty wild too.
Might make you feel better. So yeah, that kind of wraps up our episode 10. Our what is like, you have anniversary, or you have bi-week,
this is our decade mark, I guess, or our let's see.
I don't know what that is while you're looking it up. The first episodes 1 through 9, go back and listen to those. Make sure you do. We're trying to get to 100 followers. So tell your friends, tell your family.
This is it's decennial. I don't know how to pronounce that, but that's what it is. DECENNI. Yeah, decennial. There we go.
Yeah, something like that. But thanks for listening. So for all you, we mentioned it last episode, and I got to work. Let me tell you, I've been working my tail off for you Apple Podcast listeners out there. I have created an email for the podcast. All right. So if you have a comment, even Spotify listeners too, you don't have to comment on the episode. You can just shoot us an email. And that email is yadayadapods@gmail.com. Yadayada pods@gmail.com. So yadayadapods@gmail.com. Shoot us an email. Shoot us some of your thoughts. It's private, and so it's not posted for other watchers or other listeners to see. Like when you do on Spotify. So we're the only ones that'll see it. So shoot us some feedback. Shoot us some comments. What did we get wrong? We'll fix what we got wrong on the next episode. Do you agree with this? Do you think Jaws is the GOAT of summer blockbusters? We'd like to hear your thoughts. And then, as always, let us know how stupid the NBA is. I hate it so much, and I'll continue to watch it. It just keeps drawing.
Just keep torturing ourselves.
Yep. I'm ready to get hurt again. No doubt about it. So yeah, drop a comment, send us an email. Once again, that's yadayadapods, PODS, @gmail.com. But until next time, we'll see you later.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.